Virginia International Raceway, where Southern charm meets serious speed. I'm Amanda Busick, and we're live with GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Tucked into the rolling hills of Alton, Virginia, this place is more than just asphalt and apexes. It's a full-on love affair with motorsport. VIR is technical, fast, and flirtatiously unforgiving. The kind of track that'll break your heart if you're not careful. And this weekend, she's given drivers mixed signals in her weather forecast. And with love in the air, because let's be honest, Virginia is for lovers, we're all crushing hard on what is shaping up to be a thrilling second half of the championship. This is the halfway mark, where championship hopes get serious or get ghosted. Ugh. Right now, BMW is feeling the love, leading the Pro-Am, and manufacturer standings. But one wrong move, one lover spat in the heat of battle, and Mercedes-AMG could slide right in and swipe the top spot on this season's dance card. So buckle up, lovebirds, whether it's heartbreak this weekend, sparks, or even a championship duet in the making. VIR is set to drop a chord on yet another unforgettable weekend. The track is our dance floor this weekend, and the engines are already singing. And like love, this track requires loyalty, commitment, and trust. Our Calvin Fish is caught up with a guy that understands just that.
One of the highlights of the championship season is returning to Virginia International Raceway, one of the most beautiful, authentic road racing venues that we have in North America. And certainly one of the drivers who enjoyed it here last year is Philip Ellis, who won aboard the number 91 Regulator Racing AMG Mercedes with his teammate Jeff Burton. Philip, great job last year. This racetrack is so challenging, mate, and I think it really starts to show its teeth right here in turn 3. Talk us through this little mini sector here. I mean, the curbs, the nuance of that, how do you attack this corner?
To be honest, it looks very easy. It looks very different from standing up here than it does in the car, but this is a very tricky corner. The car's always kind of upset, always sliding over the front, over the rear. Super tricky end of the stint on all tires, and it makes up for great passing opportunities. Everybody's like fighting the car. You can make them, force them into a mistake, and then maybe use it here, maybe in turn 4.
When the tyres are good, when the Pirellis are in their sweet spot, is it harder to make a move? Is it more when you got a little bit of tyre deg, cars are sliding a little bit more later in the stint?
Oh, it's definitely late in the stint. Everybody's
Yeah.
moving, everybody's fighting the car. You have to kind of manage the tyre here. It's super aggressive in VIR, especially this first sector. So it starts in turn 1, here in turn 3 already, and then definitely 4, 5, 6. It's great.
And the challenges keep coming. Let's take a look. We're here in turn 11 where things finally slow down a little bit, but one of the most demanding parts of this racetrack are those climbing S's. Certainly the car's very much on edge through there, Philip. Talk about the setup of the race car that you have to choose for the weekend.
Well, look, it's a team sport, right? So it has to be comfortable for both of us. Maybe I like high speed more, to be a little bit on edge. Maybe Jeff doesn't like it as much, so we have to find the middle ground.
When you get to turn 11, you got Oak Tree Corner, that really tight one coming on to Madison Avenue, which is certainly an important corner. I'm amazed how much incline there is here along the entry. Talk us through that.
Yeah, but it's super difficult to see, especially, unfortunately, since we lost the tree here as a reference for us drivers. So it's super deceiving, you know, you come in here, you think, I can brake super late, and you see it flattens out at the apex, and then it's like, okay, I need to make that turn even tighter.
Yeah.
Super difficult corner, and a lot of mistakes. Maybe some passes.
And an important one, right? Getting off that corner on the Madison Avenue.
Probably the most important one. Unfortunately, not our strong suit in the Mercedes. Never has been. But look, we're super great on tire deck. We always have a good run out, and then maybe up the hill we can fight.
Good stuff. Well, after the blast along Madison Avenue, the straightaway here at about 165 miles an hour, really great sector to finish off this lap. This is the roller coaster. And Philip, I know you're not much of a skier, mate, but I think it's about like going through the gates here in a downhill is really challenging.
Oh, definitely. It's super hard to see. You'll see behind you guys. It's kind of off camber suddenly. You drop down the hill, and then you come down this roller coaster down here, which is a lot of fun. The car's really on the edge, just on the limit, just barely can do it flat on the exit down here. And then you have a great setup for the last 2 turns.
Very cool. What a lap, and certainly the reverse driver strategy that Regulator Racing have used for the last couple of seasons made it very exciting for us to do the broadcast. Looking forward to more action this weekend, Philip. All the best.
Thank you. Me too.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Opened in 1957, revived in the year 2000. VIR, Virginia International Raceway, It's one of the great ones. Hello and welcome to Alton, Virginia. Ryan Marine, Calvin Fish, and Amanda Busick here on site as we bring you race 2 of the weekend for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Excited to get going. We had a barn burner yesterday, Calvin, with a little bit of everything. We had the rain come in, strategical masterclass by about half the field, and then some fantastic racing to the checkered flag. It is hot once again today, but it looks like those rain clouds should stay away.
Yeah, certainly the weather forecast is a little calmer for the event here this afternoon, so that'll certainly put the teams at ease up and down pit lane. But what a strategy we saw by a very unique situation. We were under yellow, teams elected to pit way early. Look like they could be outside the box, set stationary on pit lane, release the cars just in the nick of time to not exceed that 50-minute mark. A couple of teams ran afoul of that, cost them victory, but it was really about thinking on your toes, making the sharp choice, and then executing.
Well, it was a thrilling opening race, so we might as well take a look back at what happened here Saturday afternoon at VIR. A couple of breakthrough performances. Let's relive it now. Highlights of race number 1. The field rolled off on its formation laps, and that set the tone for the race to come. The green flag came out with Philip Ellis leading the field and sprinting out to a massive lead in his regulator racing Mercedes. Behind him, though, fierce battles, treacherous track conditions as well. Gray Newell on the move in the early stages to the inside of Todd Colvin. That was for position on what was a breakthrough day for the heart of racing in GT World Challenge America. Battles in the Pro-Am class. This was a rare mistake from Justin Rothberg, able to reel it back in, and a good thing too, because he would go on to win the race in the class. Jeff Burton had, Philip Ellis had the big lead, but that moment there for JF LeBurge brought out the safety car. It came at a crucial time, right in the middle of the pit window. How the crews elected to play this made a big difference, because those that came in, they had to sit in the pit lane a little bit longer than you would normally see, but if they timed their exit just right, they vaulted ahead in track position. Schwest Povoledo Racing came so close to stealing a march on the rest of the field, but they missed the timing by about 3 seconds. It gave them track position, and Aaron Povoledo showed the pace in that team's Corvette, but ultimately would have to pit late in the going to make sure they didn't run afoul of the drive time rules. This was a crucial moment in the race. Jan Heylen super aggressive to the inside of the 99 from Random Vandals, taking Porsche to the front, seeking their first win of the 2025 season. Tom Sargent, a man on the move late in the going, as he was able to carve up through the field. Mick Grenier doing the same, trying to overcome poor track position on the restart. Really close call here between Aaron Tiewitz and Matt Bell, both able to continue along. Robbie Foley, though, put this move on the veteran Darren Turner down Madison Avenue. That was for the lead in the Pro-Am class, a class they would go on to win. In the M class, of course, a controlled activities in their Ferrari. They pick up the victory, but overall, for the first time all season, it was RS1 with their Porsche. Alex Sedgwick, his first ever GT3 win, joined by Jan Heylen on the top spot of the podium. That's how it played out in race 1 yesterday. The grid shaken up a bit from what we saw yesterday as well. There are the drivers getting set to climb aboard their race cars, and standing amongst them is Amanda Busick, a chance to hear from some of the protagonists down on the grid.
Hey Ryan, take a look behind me at all the action here at Virginia International Raceway for the open grid. We got fans down here. We got Victory Junction, their super fun summer camp hanging out with us. And in the background, you'll also hear the marching band. We also got hungry drivers ready to take to the track around here at Virginia International Raceway. And another hungry team, take a look at that taco right there. That means that the Turner Motorsport BMW and team were eating last night after that victory that they found here. And man, I think I got a guy that wants some birthday cake today in the winner's circle. Robbie, happy birthday. But man, you and Justin are just putting on a show here this weekend. He's won everything he's entered. How do you keep the streak going?
Yeah, just keep doing what we've been doing, being smart. We got a great car under us, thanks to the guys and girls at Turner for tuning it up. And our BMWs always love this track. VIR is an awesome facility, one of my favorite places to race. So just got to dot our I's and cross our T's and be smart and be there at the end.
You do have a pro car in between the next Pro-Am entry. I'm sure you've raced with Aaron Thielitz a time or two. What do you think he'll bring at you?
Yeah, for sure. He's always good, always very fair to race, aggressive. So Aaron's a great guy to race, and yeah, a lot of good pros around me. So just going to try to get a clean start and see what we can do at the start and hand Justin a good car for the end of the race.
All right, well, good luck to the Turner Motorsports. I'm going to see if I can find another interview as we're going to get set up for the national anthem here as we continue festivities down here on the grid for Virginia International Raceway. Actually, that McLaren that will be battling the Turner Motorsports here. I do have Todd Coleman sitting here preparing for this. Todd, you guys are in great position today, and I know you guys are on a hunt for that first podium here this season. How prepared?
Pretty prepared. Pretty hopeful. Like we thought we were on for one yesterday, like the one, but unfortunately we had some gremlins that we chased that almost put the car in reverse, and we think we found those. So we're excited for where we're starting today, and hopefully the weather holds out.
In the battle between Aaron Thielitz and Robbie Foley, what do you think we're going to see?
You know, it's going to be a tough one. Yesterday wasn't a good comparison. The BMW has amazing straight line speed, and you know, we make fun of those guys because it's like a spa inside the BMW, because the more they run the AC, the faster that car goes. We don't have that same luxury, so we compete with who's real race car drivers, but it's going to be a fun one to watch because they're both amazing professionals and they do it really well, and they do it always clean.
The McLaren's pretty special in Europe this year, and the McLaren just got the win in Toronto in the IndyCar race. How do you guys keep that going?
Well, look, I can't say enough. I mean, hopefully we can. But I can't say enough about the support we get from McLaren. Like, it's a big reason why we're driving this car, is just the way that that whole group of McLaren wraps around us, from engineering to executive level to the people that are ground level. So we get amazing support. So it's not surprising to see McLarens on podiums these days.
Well, Ryan, I know you were talking about it yesterday. It was such a good weekend that they had in Sebring. We're counting down here to the national anthem, but more interviews to come from down here, guys.
Awesome, Amanda. Thanks. Great to get a look at some of the atmosphere down on the grid. The fan walk's such a big part of these SRO America weekends, especially on the Sunday. This is what it all builds towards, this second race of the weekend for GT World Challenge America. But that changes next year, Calvin. That was announced at the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. New race format coming next season, with this current pair of 90-minute races replaced by a single 3-hour race, which I think has the potential to be really captivating.
Yeah, it seems like certainly the paddock was surveyed, and they've come up with this conclusion that we're going to have one main feature race, a 3-hour event on Sunday. We anticipate there being a mandatory 3 pit stop procedure there, so everyone will get an equal amount of play time. The AMs are going to play a big part in that as well. I think it might be a 90-minute minimum drive time for the AMs, so they're going to really set the stage for these pros to go battle there at the end. Guys like Bill Aublin, who had a really fast race car yesterday, they were one of those teams that just exited pit lane a little bit too soon, recognized that, and Bill came down pit lane. Too much speed, and they'd come down pit lane again, so it all went sideways on them, but they got some very fast race cars there with random vandals once again.
It's so true, and now they feel like those two cars more equal across the team in a way we haven't seen at points earlier in the season. Bill Auberlin, super quick yesterday, just didn't quite have the fortune. They had the drive-through penalty that really was a setback. There's another veteran, Oz Negri. He and Bill have shared the track a time or two over the years, and Oz has been on his game in that AM class. They've got a decent starting position in the overall.
Yeah, shares that car with Jay Schreibman, of course, and had another victory here yesterday. He is all about class. I mean, he's just the ultimate pro. So much success over the years, and now bringing his experience to the table once again.
It's time to go down trackside for Christy Wilkins to sing the national anthem.
No, I had the big...
No, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were are so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Christy Wilkins, singer, songwriter, recording artist from nearby Yanceyville, North Carolina, with that rendition of the national anthem. And with that, the teams get ready to spring into action. We're just moments away from the start of today's race. And of course, GT World Challenge America, just part of the SRO's global racing portfolio. SRO is the architect of modern GT racing. It runs international events all over the world, and nothing beats the world's biggest international GT race, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. The event is the crown jewel in SRO's two biggest championships, GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS, and the Intercontinental GT Challenge. The globetrotting 5-event Intercontinental Series kicked off in February at the Bathurst 12-hour in Australia, before continuing with the Nürburgring 24 Hours just a few weekends ago. That was followed by another round-the-clock race with the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, and now manufacturers and drivers alike have Suzuka in Japan and our very own Indy 8-hour to look forward to. The GT World Challenge takes place across 4 continents on some of the most famous circuits in motorsports. Australia has the incredible Phillip Island, and their 7-round series finishes up in New Zealand at Hampton Downs. Asia has some equally impressive venues. The incredible Mandalika circuit in Indonesia won lots of rave reviews, and only last week the teams went big in Japan when they visited the Fuji International Speedway. The last race there was a thriller. Here in America, we've so far visited California, Texas with the Circuit of the Americas, and Sebring, Florida, prior to this weekend in Virginia. Europe gets lots of famous named tracks too, with classic Grand Prix circuits like Brands Hatch, along with current ones like Barcelona, Spa, and Zandvoort. Europe also has sprint and endurance races and its own share of famous names behind the wheel, including legendary Valentino Rossi, who took victory in a night race in Misano on the Adriatic coast of Italy just last night. And the European GTs had their second race earlier this morning. Each of the results from these Continental Series counts towards the Global GT World Challenge, a championship for 10 GT3 manufacturers competing in Asia, Australia, America, and Europe. This is how the leading points look right now, after 2 races in Italy, and the one from here just yesterday. Super competitive in those manufacturers' standings, as you can see, top 3 within just a few points, and we still have a long way to go. Lots of racing all around the world. SRO and GT3 racing continuing to go strong across 4 continents, and of course the Intercontinental GT Challenge as well, which pops in and out of those various continental championships, culminating at the Indy 8-hour, our season finale as well for GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS. Let's hear now from an AM-class contender, Jay Schreibman with Amanda.
Well, as we've been talking about this weekend, we do have a little bit of Ford versus Ferrari building here in the AM class in the GT World Challenge America that is sure enough going to come down to that Indy 8-hour later in the year. And that's been top of mind for you. How are you defending the Ferrari brand?
Well, we're working hard to keep pace here. We got a little BOP challenge, and as you can tell, it's a very strong car that we're racing against, and Scott and Eric are doing a great job with the Mustang. But we feel like we're ready. We've been working hard, and we're looking forward to a good day today again.
Jay, you're working hard as well, off from a surgery that you continue to heal from. Where are you at right now in that progress?
So I'd like to tell you I'm 100%. I'm not. I'm still pushing myself as far as I think I should go, but I'm hoping by the end of the season I'll be in tip-top shape. And for now, I'm protecting the back and protecting the legs and just continue training every day and working hard to be strong in the car.
It was a random on-track event for the Mustang yesterday. A piece of rubber flew up and set the fire bottle off and then took power away from the Mustang. Not sure we'll see that again today, but how do you think contention will be with that American horsepower?
Well, I think it was a good race yesterday. My team, congrats Dave, of course, just a brilliant pit stop strategy, did a great job with that, perfect execution, so we were in a good spot. You hate to win a race like that, right? But I think it's going to be a tough battle. That car is really, really, really strong, and but I have Oz Negri as my co-driver, and we'll give it everything we got today, and the chips are going to fall where they fall.
Thank you, Jay. And Ryan, it's one of two Ferraris that will contend here today, and I know you guys have a lot of stories on that Ferrari, one being that she's red today.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's the sister car to the Oz Negri Jay Schreibman car. It's driven by Marcelo and Christian Hahn, and when it turned up here, it was blue. Now it's red. It's actually a different chassis as well. They've had their ups and downs here this weekend, but the end result has been Christian Hahn has been on it. He has been fast. He's put the wall contact behind him, and they are on that same alternate strategy we've talked about regulator racing using over the last year and a half.
Yeah, if they catch a yellow, they could be very much in the mix here by the time of the checkered flag at the end of the day. Just to get back to that story, he dropped a wheel in practice here on Thursday, damaged their primary chassis, the blue car as we look at it, and had to switch to a backup car, came down from Charlotte, he had another off on Friday, but that didn't really shake his confidence at all. He went out and qualifying later, and a beautiful lap, had great pace at the opening salvo here yesterday, so look for him to shine here later today.
Definitely so. That car starts at the back of the race here this afternoon. This is a car that spent a lot of time at the front of the race yesterday. Schwez Povolator Racing told that story during the highlights. Look, they showcased their speed and their skill. So too did the Heart of Racing. Darren Turner led the Pro-Am class late. Robbie Foley just had a little bit too much late in the going and was able to get by, but it still was the first podium result for Darren Turner and Gray Newell. Team boss Ian James is with Amanda.
Well, Ryan, I keep trying to track down Gray Newell over here, but he'll be here for his stint, I'm sure. But Darren Turner currently in that race car. How proud of you were this duo yesterday?
Oh, very proud. Gray drove an amazing stint there, and Darren brought it back there on the podium, and he's been a great mentor to Gray this year. So, yeah, moving forward on the grid, and that's the hope.
While we can't find Gray at the moment, what was his reaction after the race yesterday?
He loves racing, he loves champagne, he loves hats. So, he was elated, and he wants more of the same.
Don't we all, guys?
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks. Good to hear from Ian James, great driver in his own right, and so busy overseeing this sprawling Heart of Racing operation that now extends into prototypes and IMSA and the World Endurance Championships and GTs as well. He had some interesting quotes in the press about how important the GT program is, though, to the Heart of Racing, and they don't plan to go away from that anytime soon.
No, it's been their backbone, obviously, and now they're running in the World Endurance Championship as well as IMSA in the prototype category. So a lot on his plate. He embraces it. He's always got a smile on his face. You'd think he'd be super stressed out, but he's got good people around him like Paul Charlesley and guys like that to kind of take a little bit of the workload away from him. But it's a big task. But as you said, they love GT racing. They've got so many programs going on. It's great to see the two female drivers that they have competing in Probably GT4 and getting solid results there as well.
Yes, indeed. Well, another story each and every weekend is regulator racing. Philip Ellis was on pole yesterday, and Amanda has found him today.
Well, of the alternate strategy that has been seen here this season, in race number 1, they've found the podium once before, but in race number 2, that is where those wins are coming, and it was certainly magical here last year. How can you repeat that today in these conditions, Philip?
To be honest, I think we need a little more luck than we had yesterday. Yesterday was probably worst case scenario, worst timing of the yellow we could have wished for. Would be great if we had the same today. So about the half an hour mark, a full course hill would be amazing. But to be honest, I think we have a good pace in the car. Jeff has had a good pace all weekend, so even if it's green, I think we can shoot for a podium.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
It's an interesting statistical quirk. They have finished first or second in 4 races. In the other 3 races, they have finished 7th, without question. So if the luck doesn't fall their way, they end up 7th. Otherwise, they're either first or second. And it will take a little bit to fall their way here today. A caution in the second half of this race is exactly what they need for that reverse strategy to pay off.
Yeah, or keep Jeff on that lead lap and get one right before he hits pit lane. That would work as well to give Philip Ellis not so much of a deficit to work through. But they're comfortable with the strategy. They've employed it right from the get-go, and they feel that gives them the best chance of results. And coming in this weekend, they were only 10 points out of the championship lead, so it's been a good run for them.
Well, it is an exciting time for sure. We'll see what they could do starting 14th, but a couple of things break their way. They're in great shape. Quickly, Cal, let's talk about this racetrack. It is a classic, lots of challenge, and it comes at you fast.
It really does. Just over 3¼ miles in length with 17 turns, a ton of elevation change. It's got a lot of nuance to it in terms of using the curbs, having a car that's compliant over some of the bumps. High-speed sectors are phenomenal. Drivers in these GT3 cars absolutely love it here.
Paul Newman described it as heaven on earth. Who am I to contradict him? It is a special, special place, and it's a massive challenge for teams and drivers alike. We're about to see that unfold over 90 minutes of track activity. With that said, it's about time to fire these cars up. Let's head back trackside for the command to start engines.
Well, Ryan, race fans come in all sizes. I have 7-year-old Alana McFadden with the words everyone wants to hear.
Driver, start your engines!
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Alana. And with that, we can go racing. The engines are fired. It's about time to go. 90 minutes to settle. Race 2 of the weekend here at VIR. The championship starting to come into focus. We're past the halfway mark now with trips upcoming to Road America, Barber Motorsports Park, and the season finale, an 8-hour endurance test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But the focus now is on the here and now, right here at VIR. And some of the front-running cars from this weekend will start at the front. The winner yesterday, overall, RS1, Jan Halen, had to be aggressive to get to the lead yesterday. He starts on pole position today, and he'll share the front row with Robbie Foley, pole sitter in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, it's going to be a big duel between those two class pole sitters on the front row down into turn 1. Foley would love to jump out front there and kind of control the pace a little bit. You know, Halen wants to do exactly the same. He's a super fair but super tough competitor. I think Halen feels they could sweep the weekend and really get them back into championship contention. They're on a run where they had 4 runner-up finishes the last 5 events and finally break through for that big win yesterday.
These are your class pole sitters in the pro class. It is Jan Halen who shares with the Briton Alex Sedgwick alongside Robbie Foley on his birthday. He shares the car with Justin Rothberg, who's a perfect 3 for 3 in terms of race wins here this weekend across 2 different series and on pole in Am. It is the AF Corsa duo, courtesy of a fast lap from the veteran Brazilian Oz Negri. Here's the starting grid. Rover Pole Award goes to Robbie Foley, Turner Motorsport, with Jan Halen alongside in the overall pole in the pro class as well. Nick Grenier and Aaron Tewitt's 3rd and 4th. Tom Sargent for GMG Racing, super fast yesterday. He'll start 5th next to the American Connor DiFilippi. Matt Bell starts in 7th. Aaron Povolato led overall for a good chunk of the race yesterday. He'll start his Corvette in 8th. Then it's Darren Turner, first podium of the season yesterday. Bill Auberlin all the way back in 10th. He's got some work to do in his stint. Oz Negri, pole sitter in the M class next to Isaac Sherman. They played strategy well to get a top 5 yesterday. Then it's series debutant Eric Powell, starting with Jeff Burton. Marcelo Hahn at the back of the field for AF Corsa as well. Will start his Pro-Am entry, that bright red Ferrari that should have been blue. It'll show up in the graphics as blue, but still looks beautiful in red, a more typical Ferrari color scheme.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks a little bit more familiar in that color for a Ferrari, but nonetheless, the car's been really quick this weekend. Christian's been amazing on his debut in this championship, Marcelo's son, so Marcelo can keep it clean and keep on that lead lap. Let's see what Chris can do when he jumps aboard.
That's the challenge that lies ahead. 90 minutes on the clock will start ticking when the field takes the green flag, which is now just a couple of corners and about 2/3 of the way down a 3,000-foot straight away. 2 really long full throttle sections around VAR. The pit straight, 3,000 feet. The back straight, known as Madison Avenue, 4,000 feet. Plus that long run up through the climbing S's, which is close, if not completely, full throttle, especially on fresh tires in these GT3 cars. So much challenge, so much apprehension. We're about to find out who comes out on top in the second race of the weekend as we wait for the green flag. Field in good alignment, entering the VP acceleration zone, and it's the pole sitter, Jan Halen, who got his first win of the season yesterday, who leads the field to green, but a pretty good recovery as well from the outside of the front row. Look at the power of the BMW. Robbie Foley on his birthday putting the charge on to the outside, but sees a place to slot in line. He'll do so. Shuffled out wide, one of the Random Vandals machines. They make it work 3 wide.
Tom Sargent, a brilliant move. Takes that GMG Porsche, that multicolored car, up to 3rd. Telitz are dropping back a little bit from a false starting position.
3rd on the road, crucially 2nd in class, and right behind the class winner yesterday, Robbie Foley. Pretty clean.
There's a moment there for Turner. He ate a lot of that curb, almost lost the rear of the car.
Yeah, it was clean up until that point. Big twitch there, but a nice save from Darren Turner. He gathers it back up, looking to build on that second place run 1 day ago.
Got Bill Oberlin right behind him. They ran afoul of just coming out of pit lane a little bit too quickly yesterday. Had to serve 2 drive-through penalties.
Check that out. The lead in the M class has changed. Eric Powell, opportunistic, got around Oz Negri, now 11th on the road, but first in class in his 2nd ever GT3 start right there in the Dollar Height Racing Ford Mustang.
Yeah, he's loving life. He said, I got a new passion for racing, getting this GT3 opportunity. He loves the group, loves the team, and loves this race car, and is showing early.
What's not to love? The Coyote V8 in the front of that thing, thundering down Madison Avenue in the lead of the race. Here we go, side by side. This is Telitz and Bell. Matt Bell, 24-hour of Daytona winner back in January, able to hang on in that scrap between Chevy Power and McLaren.
Right behind them runs Aaron Povoledo, who led the field for the majority of the second half yesterday before he had to hit pit lanes. He was outside of the maximum drive time, but still a great performance by him, showcasing how talented he is.
McLaren found victory lane at Misano earlier today in GT World Challenge Europe, trying to add to that tally, score some points towards that manufacturer's crown as well here in GT World Challenge America. Right now, Telitz forced to settle in line behind Matt Bell in that brightly colored DXDT Racing entry.
Povoledo probing, looking. A little bit later in the race, as Philip Ellis discussed on that track preview, you can make some moves through this little mini sector here once the tires start to slip and slide a little bit later in the stint.
Super fast yesterday when he got out in clean air. Now, it was the result of a slight miscalculation in the pit lane, but really showcased the speed of Aaron Povoledo and that Chevy Corvette.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, they're learning that car quickly. It's tough for a relatively small team to compete with some of the bigger organizations in our championship, but nonetheless, they're finding their feet.
Right there in the middle of the pack, Povoledo currently running in 5th in the Pro-Am ranks, but he's got Darren Turner right behind. Longtime Aston Martin driver, a couple of decades with the English mark.
20 years, celebrating 3 class victories at Le Mans during that time. Stellar racing career, was a McLaren Formula 1 tester for a long time. And he's loving life again. He's loving being back full-time. He loves racing here in North America. He's done that for a few years in the past. Had never competed here at Virginia until yesterday. Did a little bit of testing a couple of years ago, shaking down a GT3 car, but first race was yesterday, and a nice, strong podium run.
Has to be fun for a veteran, even this deep in your career, to show up at a track you don't know and have to get to enjoy that challenge for the first time.
Absolutely. Up front, Jan Halen, demonstrating the pace that he showed in qualifying over a single lap. Robbie Foley got the jump on him there at the start. It looked like Jan went, and Robbie just got right along his flank, but you could tell that Jan Halen was going to be deep on the brakes, hug that inside, and Foley wisely just thinking about the class and the championship lead.
You're right, though, in calling out on that opening lap to start from Tom Sargent. Opportunistic, jumping to 3rd on the road, 2nd in class. Kel Grenier putting in a nice stint in his JMF Motorsports Mercedes, currently in the 4th position, second in class, with Connor DeFilippi behind. It's been a good weekend on the GT4 side of things for Random Vandals.
Seemed like they're scratching their heads a little bit. We see a car around. That is Jeff Burton.
Looks like a solo spin, at least from the end result, and he's able to carry on. No apparent damage to the car, but that is a setback. His job here on the alternate tactics that Regulator Racing are employing is just to keep it as close as possible so that Philip Ellis then can go to work up against the less experienced drivers who will be in the second stint for most of the Pro-Am entries.
Minimize the gap, but most importantly, keep it on the lead lap in case there is a yellow.
Exactly so. Great shot of the diversity in this field, thundering down this long back straightaway known as Madison Avenue. It was a New York City businessman who grew up in this area, Harvey Siegel, who resuscitated this track. It had closed for about a quarter of a century. Harvey had long and fond memories of coming here in his early days and as a teenager, and wanted to bring that back to this area, so purchased the land. They found the original layout of the track. They followed it as closely as possible down to the inch, and they've recreated one of the classics here at VIR, and it has again assumed its position as one of the greatest tracks in North America.
Yeah, it's never looked better. It's in pristine condition, and they continue to improve the facility for the fans, for the people who stay here on site, and certainly from the safety aspect around the racetrack. And it's tough with an authentic old school racetrack like this with such elevation change to keep continually trying to fine-tune the safety in the catchment area should a car go off the road.
This vision powered by AWS, 3 different cars with the best sector times, 2 BMWs, but they're different BMWs, and then Hagelin's Porsche also holding the best sector time through Sector 1. He set that actually just now on this lap. His last lap was the best lap of the race that we have seen, a 1:47.622, and it's allowed him to pull a bit of a gap, 1.5 seconds now, clear of second place Robbie Foley, who before long will be concerned more with the Porsche in the rearview mirror than the Porsche out the windscreen.
Yeah, it seemed like Sarge has got very similar pace to Foley, who's leading the class right now. It's going to come down to those AM drivers, and for Kyle Washington, I'd say from his standpoint, a little bit of a slow start to the weekend, but this morning in the second of the GT America races, he really started to find his feet a little bit, and I think he's found his rhythm, really importantly, in time for this race this afternoon.
Well, and you know, if he inherits some good track position, which is the way it's shaping up right now as they run, albeit in the early going, he's not an easy guy to get around. He's going to fight to keep that track position during his stint, so that's something to look forward to in the second half of the race. Back to this battle here, McLaren, Corvette, and Aston running nose to tail. Great mix of machinery here. This is all for position, by the way, inside the Pro-Am class.
See, Oberlin now is gradually creeping his way back onto the tail end of that Aston Martin. He had a car that was exceptionally quick in practice. They got into qualifying. He said, I don't know what happened. We just lost the handle on the race car, had a ton of understeer. And they had pace yesterday, but that was on a different set of tires to the ones he qualified on. He said, I'm not sure if there's something unique to that one set of tires. He said, unfortunately, I have to start this race on those, so maybe he's still struggling a bit with that understeer imbalance with that particular set.
Oberlin now starting to hone in on Darren Turner. It's the primarily white BMW from the Random Vandals stable, but this is a Pro Class car behind 4 Pro-Am entries, all of which, though, have their pros aboard, so this is not going to be easy for Bill to make a dent as he tries to recover from a lackluster qualifying.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's tough sledding when you get to this middle of the pack. There's so much talent there. But think about Eric Powell, who kind of sits there in the backdrop of these 2 cars. You've got an Aston Martin factory driver for 20 years, and Bill Oberlin will celebrate 30 years with BMW in front of him. So that's got to be something that he actually dreamed of, Eric Powell, in terms of being in this type of scenario.
And he's just about matching them on lap time. Just did his best. Middle sector did Eric Powell. See what the lap times look like this time around.
Yeah, think of the collective silverware between those two boys, Turner and Oberlin. As Povolato goes searching for another position, looking to the inside of Aaron Thielitz there down into turn 1.
That Corvette, it didn't drop off at all, did it? At the beginning, or at the front of the field yesterday in the second half of that race with Aaron behind the wheel. He kept pounding in fast laps and actually was reeling in the RS1 Porsche for the overall lead towards the end before he ultimately had to dive in to try not to run afoul of the drive time regulations.
Super impressive, and watching the language of the cars right now, you see Thielitz as he comes up onto that approach turn 3 that we just went through a few moments ago. He has to take a really wide arc with the McLaren. It seems like the Corvette can really carve the corner a little bit more efficiently. And don't be surprised if this situation stays this way for another 5-10 minutes. We get a little bit more tire dig if Povolato doesn't think about making a move there.
Yeah, it was really interesting from Philip Ellis in your track preview talking about how the opportunities to pass as Turner has a moment there, got awfully wide, looked like he had to make a correction as well. That leaves him vulnerable here to Bill Oberlin. That might be a case of those tires starting to wear even this early in the race. It opens up an opportunity here for an overtake.
Yeah, definitely a little slip there by Darren as early in the race to be suffering from tire deg. We're barely 10 minutes into this race right now, but that allows Oberlin the momentum off of Oak Tree to get that move done by the time they get to the brake zone for the roller coaster.
Povolato through on Thielitz. Oberlin is through on Turner. So a couple of positions change there down Madison Avenue that time. Up next for Aaron Povolato is Matt Bell in another Chevy Corvette in the Pro-Am class. That would be for a spot on the podium.
Yeah, Matt Bell won the Rolex 24-hour race earlier this year aboard a similar Corvette. So for Povolato Racing, Suez Povolato Racing, this is a big moment for them to really showcase that they can compete with teams like DXDT who have a ton more mileage with this Corvette. Went on an absolute tear with Tommy Milner and Alec Udell last year when they burst onto the scene kind of mid-season. Went unbeaten there all the way to the run to the season finale at Indy.
And a chance to win a championship despite missing the first 4 races of the season last year in the pro class because they rattled off 8 straight wins. Didn't have an Indy 8-hour to remember, unfortunately, but made it fun for us in the pursuit of the pro class title. Turner now trying to gather it back in after dropping that spot to Oberlin. Crucially, though, for Darren, it's not a class position, and he's been able to hang on the rear wing of the BMW, which in turn is starting to make some inroads, trying to put some pressure on Aaron Thielitz. Here comes the BMW. Look at the power down the back straightaway. We heard Todd Coleman, Aaron's co-driver, reference that in the pre-race interview, just how strong the BMW is in a straight line, and that was it in evidence. Wow.
Yeah, that was from a long way back. When you're the driver of the other car, you're saying, listen, that's somewhat unfair. How do I defend against that? But nonetheless, it's all about lap performance in terms of the BOP, and they kind of get around at the line in the same amount of time, but where the strengths are on that BMW is definitely on the straightaways a little bit. But up front, Jan Halen's super impressive. His best lap is some 4/10 clear of Robbie Foley's best, who has the second fastest lap at 1:47.6 compared to Halen's 1:47.2.
Turner to the inside of Thielitz, who seems to be struggling here early in the going at his 4th position, swapping 5th and 6th places in Pro-Am right there.
Like Thielitz having to hang on to that race car a little bit. You can see he's having to use a lot of the racetrack, big, wide radiuses to get any lap time out in the McLaren right now.
Just behind them runs Eric Powell. Snegri seems to be getting stronger as the run goes along, and we've got a nose-to-tail fight for the lead in the AM class coming under the bridge. Here it comes. Ford versus Ferrari. Where have we seen that before?
Pretty cool stuff. Yes, it's great to see, even though we've got a relatively small AM field, they're battling out here. It's going to be a great fight here this afternoon at VIR.
Both of these entries did not score points in 2 races at various points in the season. So the Dollarhide Mustang ran as a Pro-Am car in Sonoma, so scored no points towards the AM Class Championship. And meanwhile, we didn't see, of course, with their AM car at Sebring, so they didn't score anything there. They came in even on points, therefore, into the race weekend here at VIR. Yesterday, the Ferrari had the upper hand. As they run, though, it would get tied right back up.
It's great to see Dollarhide Racing get their arms around this Ford platform. Scott's had a number of different teammates this year. Scott Dollarhide, who co-drives this race car with Eric Powell, it's his first visit to VIR, and he just really got on with things. He said, listen, on the first day I was just off the pace. It's all down to me. I just got to do my homework, look at the data, come back stronger tomorrow, and boy, did he ever do that.
No question about it. Powell starting to reel in Aaron Seelitz. Ooh, that was a lunge, it looked like, from Oz Negri, who's looking threatening here.
He tried to surprise Eric Powell there on the brake zone for turn one. Eric was way over on the normal racing line trying to widen that radius, and Oz thought about poking it down the inside.
Eric's background primarily in touring cars, a lot of time spent in what is now the TC America Championship, in the SRO America paddock. He's done some club level racing, some GT4 in the last few seasons as well, and has done some work as a stunt driver too. If anyone remembers the old Disney Hollywood Studios Lights, Motors, Action Extreme stunt show, Eric spent quite a bit of time as one of the stunt drivers in that show. So great car control. This is the big moment he's been waiting for, a chance to drive at the GT3 level for the first time here this weekend. Oh, dropped a wheel off there.
Just saw a few cars ago. Evan Paul Vallejo was getting really close to the other Corvette of Matt Bell. It was really close. It was 6/10 quicker on that last lap.
That is awesome stuff from the Canadian veteran Aaron Povaledo. Continue to watch Eric Powell. Didn't seem to slow him down much, going 2 wheels off. Just put the pedal down and let that big V8 at the front of the Mustang do its thing.
Yeah, I think for Oz, he realizes ideally I need to get by Eric here and create a little bit of a gap to give Jay a little bit of a buffer to work with when he jumps on board. Expect Oz to stay in there to extreme part. He'll try and maximize his 50-minute maximum drive time here.
Over the last 3 laps, Negri has been faster each time, but by a collective 0.17 of a second. So not much between the two.
Not much at all. Certainly a lot of difference in terms of their experience behind the wheel of one of these types of race cars, however.
Yeah, definitely. This is good stuff. Great to have competition in the M class. We'd love to see a few more, but hey, we'll take what we can get. Mustang versus Ferrari sounds pretty nice. And so it's played out here this weekend. At the front of the pack, Jan Heylen continues to show the way. 2 seconds over Robbie Foley. Tom Sargent hanging tough, though, only 0.7 of a second behind Foley. That's for the Pro-Am lead. Leader in AM, though, right here. It is Eric Powell.
Oz there able to carve a slightly tighter line through those 2 corners. 11 sort of like becomes 12 immediately. It's almost like a blended double apexer type corner if you approach it that way.
There we go. We've got Connor DeFilippi in the BMW. Matt Bell in the first of the Corvettes. Oh, and a problem here. Is this Jeff Burton? I think it is.
There's damage to that rear wing.
Yep. This is bad news for the Regulator Racing team. I believe we've gone full course yellow as well. Yes, we have. This is the car that came into the weekend just 10 points out of the Pro-Am Championship lead, but it has not gone their way. Just misfortune yesterday with timing of the yellow, but today something a bit more serious.
Well, the irony is with their strategy, they need a yellow, but they don't need to be the car that created it.
Significant damage to the right rear, and I'm not sure it's all copacetic there under the bodywork. Good save by Jeff as he tries to hustle it back to the pits, and I'm sure frustrated as well.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a bit flustered. He recognized like there's a lot of damage to the rear end of this race car. You can probably see it from the side view mirror, and certainly the team will be alerting him to that from the cameras that they see.
Well, that will compress the field, wipe away the lead that Jan Heylen had built. Also helps to, would certainly help the other car on that alternate strategy in the Pro-Am class. So Marcelo Hahn, who was 31 seconds behind the overall leader, that gets wiped away. And now we're still a little ways away from the pit stops, but that should mean less that Christian Hahn has to make up when he climbs aboard.
Yeah, 51 minutes and 5 seconds on the board is the earliest you can come pit lane and do a super efficient minimum pit stop time and be on the right side of that 50-minute maximum drive time.
Here's a look at the leader. Jan Halen for RS1. Jeff Burton has made his way into the pit lane. Quite a bit of damage, a little bit to the right front, and then a whole lot to work through at the rear of this car, and I suspect it will take no further part in today's activities, which deprives us a chance to see Philip Ellis do his thing. These second races of the weekend, when he just comes up through the field, it's usually pretty captivating, but doesn't look like today is the day. Amanda is down by the Regulator Racing team. What can you tell us?
Yeah, if the camera's still on the car, we did have Jeff Burton go ahead and pull off a pit lane. Brian Sellers did want him to stop here just so they could assess the damage, but it was the conversation that they thought he'd have to go straight to the truck, and unfortunately that's where our runner-up in the championship heading into the weekend is headed now.
Hate to see it for him. It's been such a fun story over the last season and a half. They turned up at Sonoma last year and found that change in the rule book. I would suggest before anybody else. They were certainly the first to act upon it, which allowed them to do this alternate strategy, and it has paid dividends for them, turned them into perennial race winners, and now even championship contenders coming into this stretch of the season.
Absolutely, as you said, came in the weekend 10 points back. Took a bit of a hit yesterday as Philip Ellis, just absolute worst timing of that yellow yesterday, took them from the lead to ultimately finishing 7th in class. So they're 29 points back of the number 29, coincidentally coming into the race today. But this is a bigger hit with Foley and Rothberg obviously in great shape here, leading their class once again.
Right, and the other thing is they haven't made it to halfway, which means they won't score points. 9 cars in the class, they could have scored as many as 2 points just by reaching the halfway mark. 2 points may not sound like much, but these things have been decided by less. Anyway.
That may be a decision if there's any way. The main thing is to be able to get a rear wing bolted on. I mean,
right.
Some of the superficial stuff, the cosmetic stuff, don't need to worry about, but they'll go back to the truck, and I'm sure that's their #1 priority right now. Is there any way we can get this car back into the action, let Philip do some laps, and just somehow get 50% of the laps by the class leader here and score some points?
Never know when those 2 points could make all the difference in the world. We've seen it before. And of course, our AM class leader continues to be Eric Powell. Got that position on the opening lap. Opportunistic on the start, able to get around Oz Negri, and he's held that spot ever since. Chance for him to regroup, get ready to go. Should be a relatively short full course yellow. Drive back, just have to make sure all the barriers are okay and that there's no debris anywhere out on the track that could cause a puncture or anything along those lines, but should be getting close to restarting the race. Amanda, though, letting us know from the regulator team, doesn't look like there's any chance to get the Mercedes back out, so that will cost them at least those 2 points. Thanks to Amanda for doing some digging to get to the bottom of that for us.
Yeah, some chassis damage we're hearing, and radiator and stuff like that, which takes a long time to replace and bleed the system. So it looks like it's day down and a huge hit in their championship chances.
It is. Opens up perhaps opportunities for others, though. Tom Sargent and GMG Racing, second in class right now. Makes it all the more important for them to get around Robbie Foley into the lead of the class. Matt Bell, DXDT Racing, in podium contention once again, but behind the car they're chasing in the points. We'll see what happens as we get ready to go. Once again, safety car is pulled away, and Jan Halen, wasting no time, starts to accelerate through Hog Pen. building a solid gap immediately over Robbie Foley, who's going to have to contend with Tom Sargent, it would appear, before this stint is all said and done. Nick Grenier may be a bit vulnerable as well. That's the white Mercedes. Connor DeFilippi looked at him, so too does Matt Bell, taking a peek to the inside of the BMW. He's still there, looking to the inside, very nearly coming together, but they do make it through.
Yeah, and behind that little group, Bill Auberlen was trying to make a move on Povolato down into turn 1, which was resisted immediately. So Jan Halen there dropped so far back from the safety car. I'm like, where's the safety car? Then we finally saw, and Jan Halen just controlled everything coming down through the roller coaster and took off relatively early.
Veteran move from the longtime sports car racer, champion driver as well, Jan Halen, out in front for RS1. Got their first win of the season yesterday. Here comes Auberlen again, looking to work over Aaron Povolato. Tough place to do it here through the climbing S's, but Bill is probing for any weakness he can find.
Well, you got to hit your mark through there when your line is taken away from a car, when you're so close behind them. That makes it super tricky. You're also getting a little bit of aero wash at those high speeds as well, taking the air off that front splitter.
Desperate to get around some of this Pro-Am traffic to get to the tail end of his class. It's his teammate that he's chasing for class position. Connor DeFilippi currently 3rd in class, but 5th overall. 2 cars in between the 2 Random Vandals teammates.
Yeah, and they're both Corvettes, and they're both cars that are handling particularly well here this weekend.
Good point. Bell and Povolato continue their duel. Good restart as well for the M-Class leader, Eric Powell, who's right on the doorstep of Darren Turner once again and seems to have been able to pull a gap on Oz Negri. On these starts and restarts, that Mustang seems really strong.
Yeah, seems to come alive, get the energy into the tires very, very quickly.
Behind Negri is the CRP Racing Mercedes. Isaac Sherman, GT4 champion in GT America last year, jumping on board with Oz Negri. This is the rundown into turn 1 and 2.
How late he can brake, just kind of dives in. Early apexes that turn 1 to keep the car more in a straight line, so you're more efficient with your braking rather than combined load there with steering and braking at the same time.
Chasing his class leader, Eric Powell. I don't think these two would have ever raced against each other before, so there's a bit of a feeling out process there too when you are coming to grips with new opposition. What are their habits? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What can you try and exploit?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure Eric has watched a lot more Oz's race than Oz has watched of Eric's, even though Eric's had a pretty good career coming up through the touring car ranks and categories like that.
Mustang gets the power down nicely out of Oak Tree. Continues to hold the lead in class. Up to the front of the field, though. Fight for 2nd on the road, but this is for the lead in Pro-Am. Robbie Foley has it in the Ladecrete BMW. It's the E-Boost Porsche, driven by the Aussie Tom Sargent, who's closing in, getting closer and closer with each passing lap.
Yeah, and what's really cool is that they'll be turning over to their respective teammates, Rothberg and Washington, who came in this weekend only separated by 2 points in the GT America Championship, so they're used to dueling each other.
We've seen the Archangel Motorsports McLaren drop down the order since the restart. They're now at the back of the train in 14th. Maybe we can get an update on that now from the pits and Amanda.
Yeah, I was trying to get an update on what was going on because we were so excited about that McLaren versus BMW battle by chance, and I just talked to Todd Coleman. He said they had to come onto pit lane and make an ECU change, said that they've just been fighting some gremlins.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
Yeah, that explains a lot because Aaron didn't have a great start and seemed to be struggling for pace there, so they elected to bring the car to pit lane, see if they could do a bit of a reset. They get another yellow, and the key is getting it fixed, then if you get a yellow, maybe you're back in the fight.
The good news, I suppose, for Teowitz is he's back out, and his first sector was more or less on the pace, pretty close to it at least. Race Vision powered by AWS. Best laps of the race so far. Porsche, BMW, Porsche, Chevy, and Mercedes. 4 different makes inside the top 5.
Sargent is keeping Foley honest here. Closes up on them, rolling that minimum speed through turn 11, gets ever closer to the BMW as they launch off of Oak Tree.
Saw the Porsche have good straight line speed yesterday. uphill climb. Now it comes back down. Even the straights, they're not straight, and they're certainly not flat here at VIR. Leads to this super technical section. Downhill run through roller coaster.
9 minutes away from that window opening, but you could anticipate probably Jan Halen staying in a little bit deeper, even though Alex Sedgwick, his teammate, has got great pace. Certainly Foley, Sargent, they're going to stay out there as long as they can.
Meanwhile, on the other side of that equation, we expect Marcelo Hahn at the earliest opportunity. Some of the Pro Class cars, too, can play with their strategy if they like. There's less of a pace delta between their two drivers. That is an opportunity for them if they choose to employ it. Bell looks really good. Both of the Vandals cars appear to be on the back foot here. Not something we've said much this season.
No, they tested well. They led the practice sheets earlier in the weekend, but it just seems they're a little bit quirky. It just seems like they've got a very small window in regards to the setup, where the drivers are comfortable, can wring the performance out of the race car.
Looks like more bad news for Archangel Motorsports. Aaron Thielitz shown is back in the pit lane for the second time already in this race. Whatever they changed, I guess, didn't seem to do the trick.
That's a shame, because they've certainly been knocking on the door of that first podium, as Amanda suggested on the grid, prior to the green flag here today.
Well, they too would be at a point where they're not in a position to score points in all likelihood, unless the second half of the race runs under a ton of yellow or a red flag or something like that. It's not about time spent, time elapsed, it's about the number of laps completed. So just because we've run 15 laps in the first roughly 30 minutes doesn't mean that this pace is going to be maintained, but unless they can get things sorted, they're in a position to come away with nothing from a point standpoint at this stage. I think we have another chance to hear the update on the Archangel team. Amanda, what have you heard?
Yeah, I did see Todd Coleman leave their pit box and head back to the truck. I had my earpiece in, so I couldn't hear what he was saying, but referencing with Mike Johnson, they're going to take that McLaren back. They thought that they had this fixed overnight. They tried that ECU change and said that that almost made it worse, so they're going to take it back. The anticipation is to get this McLaren back on track. I did hear Todd say, this race is shot, but we have to be ready for Road America.
It's a good outlook on it. If nothing else, make sure you get the problem resolved before you turn up at Road America and maybe lose some valuable track time up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have any testing plan between now and then, but if they don't, this becomes their 57 minutes of opportunity to do a little bit of testing, get the car back on the racetrack. Certainly the series officials don't want a car that's not up to speed fully, so they'll have to be aware of that at the same time.
Bill Oberlin putting the pressure on Aaron Povolato here. This is one car I do wonder about. You'd like to maximize Bill's lap time, but Varun Choksi's been pretty quick. Maybe there's some thought to doing an undercut, trying to let Varun turn in some quick laps in clean air that maybe could help vault them up the order. If Bill doesn't feel like he can do it himself, just on pure pace, passing the cars ahead of him.
Yeah, and I think the key is to stay on that lead lap as well. So if you caught a yellow and suddenly the rest of the field is slowed down before they get to pit lane, that could create some opportunity. So it might be worth rolling the dice on that.
Eric Powell continues to lead in the M class. Really good battle between these two. You know, if there's any mistake from Eric, that Oz is there ready to take advantage of it. So Eric must have been close to perfect up to this point in the race in order to keep the vet behind him.
Yeah, and you knew that Eric was relishing this opportunity. He sent us both a note just before the off today and said, I'm looking forward to racing against Oz. And he certainly had a great battle. Oz is a couple of tenths quicker in terms of fastest lap of the race, but nonetheless, Eric holds the track position right now as Rothberg gets ready and starts to stretch it out a little bit.
Limbering up, he's ready to climb aboard his BMW. He is undefeated this weekend. He's run 2 GT America races, won them both. Ran race 1, of course, GT World Challenge America yesterday with Robbie Foley. And I think Justin in his post-race interview, was quick to give the credit to Robbie to help overcome a rare miscue early in the race, but it was something they could overcome and did. They ended up with the win there too, so trying to make it a perfect 4 for 4 on the weekend if they can pull this one off, but it won't be easy because here comes Tom Sargent.
Yeah, he's really quick through turn 11. He's just able to roll that Porsche with a bit more speed and really catches Foley there. Foley looks like he had a little bit of understeer there coming on to Madison Avenue, and we've talked about it many times before, but because of Justin having that derogation with his bronze status, that means he has to carry some extra weight on board, 26 kilos, and Foley obviously can't take it out of the race car and put it back in on a pit stop, so he carries it as well.
Their concern was deep into a stint. How would that affect the tire wear on a hot Virginia afternoon like this one? So far, it's not slowed them down much because they continue to lead their class. Robbie Foley's last lap of 48.333. The lap from Tom Sargent of 48.315. So practically even, although Sargent, of course, is having to deal with the dirty air off of that BMW in front of him.
Meanwhile, Jan Halen continues to stretch that gap back out again, so not ideal for him to have that yellow and lose a lot of that gap that he'd created, but nonetheless, he's just got his head down, just monotonous with his lap times and looking to sweep the weekend. He was very emotional when he grabbed the pole position for this race yesterday morning in qualifying 2. Just recognizing that there's been a lot of hard work this year. There's been a lot of struggles behind the scenes. I don't think the budget was necessarily in place to run the full season, so that creates a lot of concern and angst. But they've just gotten on with the job and delivered here this weekend for sure.
He's been frustrated. He knew it was going to be challenging. They don't do the testing that a lot of the other pro class cars do. And puts you behind the 8 ball when you turn up at a racetrack, and it's your first few laps on track, whereas the competition might have spent a day or two in preparation. That's the reality of the situation, and in spite of it, they have emerged over the last handful of weekends as a thorn in the side of whoever ends up winning those races. They kept finishing second, and certainly were not distant seconds in most of those events. Yesterday, everything fell into place. Halen had to get a bit aggressive, but he's okay doing that. Pretty comfortable with that.
He does. He keeps it fair, but he's a hard racer. Not afraid to get his elbows out if it's what it takes.
Of course, married into the extended Petty family. And when you talk about VIR, one of the corner names is NASCAR Bend. One of the reasons why is several NASCAR drivers, including King Richard, raced here in a Trans Am race. Seemed like the NASCAR stars had trouble with that corner. It's a left-hander, so I don't know why, but for whatever reason they did, and it's borne the name NASCAR Bend ever since. Oh, this is stacking up nicely here. Matt Bell has dropped off of Connor DeFilippi and into the clutches of Aaron Povolato, who's brought Bill Auberland to the party.
Seems like if those drivers elect to try and eat that curb up there a little bit through turn 5, it creates a moment and they're late to power. So Povolato there definitely lose a car like Gosil by electing to be aggressive over the curbs, and here's a problem. Hahn is off the road.
Yep, that's Marcelo Hahn. This car has had its struggles. I think I see some
Turn
tire
3
tracks
maybe.
that have, led through the grass out there. Marcelo able to rejoin. That is NASCAR Bend that we were just talking about. Don't know if it made wall contact or not, but Marcelo's able to continue on.
That's a shame because he was within shouting distance where his son could have maybe done something with the performance he's shown this weekend. That's a pretty hefty hit, but the rear wing remarkably, I'm not sure it got even tweaked. It was like it's just a little bit higher than the tire stack there.
That was fortunate. Looks like he's able to resume. Find out when his sector times start to come in, whether or not that car is back on the pace or not. We're right there in that pit window, are we not, Tal?
Yeah, we certainly are. 51 minutes and 5 seconds is effectively when that opens. So if you got a faster driver sitting on pit lane waiting to go, get him in as soon as you can.
See, it's a little too soon for most of the front runners. So next lap really will be the first opportunity for anyone to dive in. Most of the field we would expect to stay out.
think Marcelo could come in this lap to look at the damage on the race car, and they should be in their window to be okay. There is no problem to just send Christian out.
His middle sector was roughly the same pace as some of the cars that he was racing around prior to that, so that hopefully is a good sign. As we watch this battle for the AM class lead continue, Powell has held it from effectively the jump, took the lead around this spot on the first lap. It's right on board with Oz Negri as he chases down the class leader.
Couple of little lifts there. The tires are good and everything's set up perfectly. It'll be flat up through those S's until turn 10. Great onboard here. This is sensational stuff.
From this view, what can we learn about how the two cars are driving?
Pretty similar actually here on this backstretch, Madison Avenue. Yes, that Mustang's punching a big hole in the air, but that gap seems to be pretty constant. Maybe the Mustang stretches just a little bit right there, the very tail end of the straightaway. Seems like Oz is using a slightly different line through some of the corners, kind of running a more shallow entry compared to a more conventional wide carving nature of the Mustang that Eric Powell is driving. A little bit wide there. See him working those tires, just trying to get the power down as now we see some takers on pit lane. Two Random Vandals machines are in, meaning that they've got two teammates that they're comfortable with their pace. Be Kent and Cook taking over the reins of the 99 and Varun Choksi on the 51.
That is Kenton running around the side of his car. Bill Oberlin comes around into his pit box. Driver changes underway. Great look from the inside of what these driver changes look like.
So I think the undercut here can be quite powerful because there is quite a bit of tire drag. Performance does drop off a little bit with the abrasive nature of this racetrack and how much it uses the tires. So even if you got drivers who are at equal speed, despite getting a fresh set of Pirelli P0s on, you can do the undercut where your pace is going to be a little bit quicker when you leave pit lane compared to a driver staying out on well-worn rubber.
There goes the lead car, and just behind, Varun Choksi leaves as well. So Ran the Vandals feeling like they had to do something different strategically. They're in a position now where they could take advantage of a yellow should one come out, and they'll also try for that undercut. Now, while we were away, we've got a change of the lead in the AM class. It's Ferrari around the Ford. This is how it happened down into Horseshoe.
Oz take a look a little bit earlier in this race and just forces his way down there, and Eric just gets out in the grade there, tries to get the power back down. And suddenly he loses several car lengths to Oz there in that exchange.
Well, that was an awesome scrap while it was going on, and ultimately it's going to be settled by the two teammates, isn't it? Jay Schreibman in the Ferrari, Scott Dolehite in the Mustang, and just like that, the Dolehite team says, let's go ahead and get that change done. Scott on standby, ready to climb aboard. Pit stop here as well for the JMF camp. They were running up in second in the pro class, and now we'll see that driver change. Miguel Pinier, Mackay Stevens swapping around.
Blowing out the radiator grill from the other side, so that'll clear any stuff that's got through the grill on the front end and actually sticks to the front side of the radiator grill. Scott Dolehite sprinting around, getting ready for action, and here we see an issue here.
That's Choksi with an
relatively
off.
cold tires, must have caught him out. It's a really tricky corner, and he was in push mode for sure. We talk about the undercut.
Yeah, you need to push in order to take advantage of it. Track sticker tires. Let's hear from Amanda.
Yeah, I was talking to Scott Dolehite before he was getting in that Mustang, was stretching out to get ready for his stint, was asking him how fun that was for them watching that battle between the Ferrari and the Ford. He said, we're on it, things will change right now, I just got to get in this Mustang, and away it goes.
That looked like good execution. We'll check the time. A couple seconds over the minimum, but it's safe. All the pit stops we've seen so far are above that 65-second minimum. As perhaps was expected, the AF Corsa stop, Marcelo to Christian Hahn, did take a little longer, but they were probably taking a look at that race car, having made contact with the tire barrier on the previous lap.
Yeah, for sure. It's a shame because they were in great shape to take advantage. Here's a replay here. Varun just gets in a little bit wide there, too much speed. He clouded that pretty hard. I didn't realize, we just saw him kind of pulling away. I didn't realize he had such an impact there with the front end.
Maybe lost to dive plane, but didn't look catastrophic. Meanwhile, leader is in. This, at least in part, probably is covering for a full course yellow, because had that BMW gotten stuck in the tire barrier there, that would have been catastrophic for RS1. The message is sent. Halen is out and young Alex Sedgwick is in. Now just waiting on the Pirellis.
Good little reminder there. If you're on the box thinking about, oh, do we protect against the yellow? Then you see someone in the fence and recover. You're like, okay, enough of this. Let's just bring him in.
See the car sit stationary. They got the work done in time. Now they're just trying to time their exit so that they stay above that 65-second minimum.
A really solid stop there by the group. Meanwhile, Foley, Sargent, they now lead this motor race with Halen's pit stop. They can stay out there about another 4 minutes or so, so another couple of laps potentially if they want to take it right down to the wire. And might play it too close in case there's an issue and safety cars suddenly release or something like that. So sometimes they'll keep it one lap outside of that margin.
But they'll want to maximize the time of their pro drivers to the greatest extent possible. Foley does peel off here now. So Tom Sargent, yeah, Sargent's going to put his head down and see what he can do in clear air for the first time. We'll have to keep that in mind, file that away, see if it's enough to help GMG jump Turner.
Well, the undercut works when you got drivers of similar pace. I would imagine that maybe Tom Sargent, even on those well-worn Pirellis, might be a little bit quicker than Justin's outlap. So this could be really crucial here. Both teams do an equal pit stop. Don't be surprised to see the GMG car jump around this Turner Motorsports car.
Rothberg is about to jump in. Foley on his birthday, his job is done. Radio plugged in, net goes up. Crew has to work around that driver change as they take off those Pirellis. Those look like scuffs going on. A little bobble there for the tire carrier, but everything very smooth and under control. Fuel going in, tires going on. They'll drop it off the jack. This is another car to watch here, having made its stop already. Former overall leader coming through. Where will they cycle through relative to the BMW?
Here he comes. So Sedgwick is going to go around, and he should extend this gap that you're going to see immediately because he's got a lap of temperature on his tires. So Sargent has stayed out. He can probably stay out an additional lap if they really want to push things here by GMG. They're on what we call the overcut strategy.
He just turned in the race's best middle sector. This is exactly what GMG needs from Tom Sargent. Good pit work, though, by Turner. They were right there, only about 0.8 of a second over the minimum. So a little wiggle room, but not too much.
Stays out another lap.
Yep.
They're pushing it right down to the wire here.
Yep, they've got time for one more. It's time for Tom Sargent to put in some flyers here deep into this stint. That last lap, a 1:48 flat, fastest lap of anyone on the track.
Only 3.5 tenths off his personal best of the day, so that's excellent stuff this deep into a race, and really a testimony to these Pirellis standing the heat here at VIR.
To that point, Stevens and Cook on new tires they were actually slower by 1/10 or 2/10. So this deep into the run, the combination of driver and car, even on the used tires, more than enough.
They'll hit pit lane this time, and if they can execute a really tight pit stop, Kyler Washington should come out in front of Rothberg and really close to Sedgwick as well.
These cars may be a bit too close to try and push it one more lap, so they'll make their stops here. DXDT, job done for Matt Bell. Blake McDonald in the car now. It's been a really solid year from that pairing and that team, as you would expect. CRP Racing, same story. They've gone up against some of the big names in the sport. Their first time racing at this level in several years, and have had podiums in top fives. And then a podium finisher yesterday, Heart of Racing, completing their service. Now out of the pits, McDonald side by side.
And Cook slides it down to the inside there.
Yep, not in the same class. That was for 6th overall as they run.
It's really where you have to have a lot of discipline. I mean, the tire temps are going to come up relatively quickly in the heat of the day. And look at this. There goes Scott Dollarheight. So with that undercut there, Eric Powell and the team elected to choose. I'm not sure if Schreibman's pit stop was right on the number, Ryan, but nonetheless, there's an exchange for the lead in AM. Sargent's in, getting his teammate Kyle Washington, who looks trimmer than ever. He's always a strong man, but boy, he looks fit after this summer break. Amanda?
As we see Tom Sargent out of the car, I was talking to the team a little bit before Kyle Washington got in here, and as Kyle was getting ready, I saw one of his team members put an ice pack into his suit. Kyle does not have a cool suit in this Porsche, but he has a Ziploc bag with ice in it.
Anything you got to do to keep him cool. Schwez Povoleto also pushing really close to the margins, but they were in time. Povoleto had a great lap just a few moments ago.
Here comes Sedgwick up to speed. Washington's heading down pit lane. There he is. Sedgwick's up to speed. And just as I thought, he's going to split the two cars up front, and he's come out in front of Rothberg there in the backdrop. Kyle Washington has grabbed the lead in class here. He's got to get those Pirellis up to temp as quickly as he can, and this will be a fascinating battle between he and Rothberg for the Pro-Am class win.
Really?
Just those 2 extra laps there for Sargent really paid dividends.
And a great pit stop as well by the GMG team. They were at a 65.3, so they were half a second faster with their pit work and release. So that helped them too to grab just that little bit more position on track. Now Rothberg's got to get up to speed and quickly, and he has to do it with a mirror full of Mackay Stevens.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a class battle, so he's got to make a decision here. How much do you want to defend, compromise your lap time? I think he's got to focus forward. Maybe he wants to let Mackay by and just chase with him, see if he can chase down Washington for the Pro-Am class win.
Inside the final 40 minutes of this race, Rothberg has Mackay taking a peek up the inside. Stevens late on the brakes into Oak Tree. That was nice. Up the inside, he's got the position away.
That's okay, though. That's okay for Rothberg. I think that's actually better. Just let him focus forward as Jan Halen tries to cool down. They don't use the AC on that Porsche. It's a hot, hectic stint in one of these race cars in the middle of summer.
On the bright side for Jan Halen, he lives in Florida, so he's used to it. Stevens, though, needed to get that move made because he's second in class. He needs to go catch Alex Sedgwick, the two that battled for the win late in the race at Sonoma, the season opener. Saw Stevens come out on top in that duel. Sedgwick had to wait a little while for his first GT3 win. That was Stevens' first GT3 win.
Yeah, JMF got a brand new chassis here this weekend. I think their performance yesterday may have been compromised a little bit. Remember when Mackay Stevens had that off for that little bobble there on the opening lap when it got really tight there going through the snake, and I have to wonder if there's a little bit of damage to the underside of that race car that kind of curtailed their progress for the rest of the day.
Perhaps so, but it seems like he's got some strong pace now. Sedgwick leads by 8.1 seconds over Kyle Washington. That's this Porsche right here, second overall, but leading in Pro-Am. Mackay Stevens is about to catch him, and he's bringing Justin Rothberg. So the two GT America rivals, Washington and Rothberg, are about to rejoin their duel from, well, really all season long. They're the two championship protagonists in that series this year.
Yeah, when he came out of the pits, I mean, Washington had about a 4.5 second lead. He lets Mackay Stevens go. Now he's got to get back into a rhythm because Rothberg has a run here, and that gap is going to be basically erased here if he's not careful. There's Rothberg. He's right on his tail here. Washington has to get into his groove immediately.
It has been effectively erased. Just like that, Rothberg is in his rhythm. The GMG team did their work in the pits. Tom Sargent did his work behind the wheel. It gave Kyle Washington the track position, but if he wants this win, he's going to have to fight for it for another 36 minutes.
This is for third overall, but the Pro-Am lead. Sedgwick up front, leads in Pro over Stevens. This is Washington still hanging on to the lead in Pro-Am, and he needs to. That's the championship leaders behind him. They got to cut into that points gap sooner or later this summer.
This was the site of a big win 1 year ago for Tom Sargent, for Kyle Washington. Monumental in his development as a GT3 driver. But now it looks like that BMW is inevitable. First looking to the outside, now coming to the inside. Rothberg late on the brakes. It's covered off by Washington, who then slips wide in the brake zone for turn 1. That opens up the door. Rothberg slips on through, and he takes the Pro-Am class lead.
Washington just took it in so deep on the brakes to defend. He just lost the front end, probably got the ABS numbing the front, trying to turn the car, and it just opened up the door and Rothberg pounced.
Trying to make it a perfect 4 for 4 on the weekend across 2 different championships. Justin Rothberg got the job done. Will Turner and his brain trust will like what they're seeing. Now Kenton Cook has turned up as well. This is a pro class car catching Washington, and he'll want to try and make quick work if he possibly can, because the top 2 overall are the 2 cars that he's chasing at this stage.
I think Kyle kind of made it too easy on Stevens there, and it just really cost him a bundle of track time, and suddenly he's immediately under pressure from Rothberg, who made it stick by the time they got down into turn 1.
Kenton got a nice run through Oak Tree, puts the power down, and this is one of the strong suits of the BMW M4 GT3 Evo. Down Madison Avenue, Random Vandals, BMW, GMG Racing, Porsche, side by side they go. Late on the brakes, Kenton Cook able to move ahead. Now 4th overall, and just 1 car between himself and Mackay Stevens for 2nd in class.
Yeah, and they really need to try and get going here. For the championship leaders, they lost 7 points to the number 18 car of Sedgwick and Halen yesterday, and they're on track right now to lose 15. That's a massive amount of points to lose over the course of 1 single event.
Another class battle breaking out here. Ross Schwest. Good run throughout this weekend across multiple series. He's got his mirrors full of Gray Newell, who had that podium yesterday. At the front of the field, we should note, Mackay Stevens just did his car's best lap of the race and was able to claw off about 0.3 of a second from race leader Alex Sedgwick, but it's still a 10.1 second gap.
Yeah, just great execution by RS1 here this weekend, getting the car right in its sweet spot, allowing both their drivers to just go do their thing. Just amazing.
Schwest a little bit wide. Newell wasn't close enough to take advantage of it. Here is Justin Rothberg. He's got a proud father watching on. What a race, what a season it has been for Rothberg. Just his 2nd year of GT3 racing, already a champion in GT World Challenge America. Someone who probably won the title late last year in the season finale at Indianapolis. He's got his eyes on a pair of crowns here this season.
A lot of great things, but I'm not sure they've ever won 4 races on a weekend. Not the first, but I think that's the first for that one.
I'm sure they'll correct us if we're wrong, but I'm inclined to agree. Behind this duo, Varun Choksi has been turning some quick laps. He's recovered nicely, and if we were concerned about any damage from his small moment nosing into the barriers, I think those have been put to rest. He's caught these 2, still running 4th in his class, but has entered into this battle for 4th and 5th in the Pro-Am class.
Yeah, he'll be a little bit frustrated by that little slip up there for Varun will, but he was pushing hard. Look at this battle now. McDonald has caught Washington. Washington's really compromised his entry there, and that gets him into that numbing of the brakes there into the ABS, and that's creating issues. He's just got to really focus forward, get into rhythm. He's shallow again here. He's going to be slow coming off the corner.
Blake sees the door open here into turn 4. It narrows on him, and wisely he backs out of it. But that Corvette is looking ominous if you're a Porsche fan right now.
Yeah, certainly, and for McDonald.
Our sincerest apologies. Thanks for sticking with us. We had a momentary power loss here at the circuit. Should be back up and running. Hopefully you can hear us. Hopefully you didn't lose the pictures, at least, while we were away. And if that is indeed the case, then you have seen Alex Sedgwick continues to lead by 10.2 seconds over Mackay Stevens. Caden Cook is another 9 seconds behind. Justin Rothberg, though, starting to come under pressure. Blake McDonald is reeling him in slowly but surely with 23 minutes, 38 seconds to go in race 2 of the weekend. And also a really good battle starting to break out for 4th and 5th in the Pro-Am class between Rosh West and Gray Newell. So that's what we've got our eyes on right now, keeping a close tab on Justin Rothberg and Blake McDonald, who has been really impressive here in his stint.
He had to fight his way by Kyle Washington. As soon as he got some clean air on the front end of that Corvette, he's been absolutely flying. You can see the gap now is basically about 6 car lengths. So Justin Rothberg is going to have his work cut out. As you see a problem here for Rosh West. Looks like they may have gone for a little bit of a ride there coming through turn 10.
He was in store for a pretty good finish there. Was running 4th at the time. This is for position. Jason Daskalos has caught him after that issue, and Daskalos has gone by to take the 5th position now. Well, I say he's gone by. That's not quite true. It's not over yet. Great recovery from the Corvette, and look at the strength of that Vet late in the straightaway. It's still side by side, and Daskalos, whoa, had a moment himself, got off in the dusty stuff, and had his hands full.
That was bizarre. It looked like he's just going to try and go into a braking duel into the corner and suddenly just gets out of it. He just obviously didn't have the grip there on that side of the racetrack and has to give it up. He's got to be frustrated that he had such a run and still didn't have the speed there in the straightaway stakes to make it stick by the time they got to the brake zone.
Now, you heard Philip Ellis allude to it, didn't you, in the track preview? Coming out of Oak Tree, those long straights, maybe not the strong suit historically of the Mercedes, but it more than makes up for it more often than not in sections like this one, where it has proven to be such an effective piece of equipment at the GT3 level for a long time now. I think we might be able to give you a glimpse of what happened here. This was Rosh West fighting with Aaron Povoledo. Not, I take that back. It was Rosh West fighting with Gray Newell. Just got the tail end of that there, but both cars side by side there at South Bend in the run down to Oak Tree.
Yeah, it's a pretty wild spot to go side by side and have kind of a half spin and survive. So both drivers a little bit lucky with that interaction.
Undoubtedly. West has done well to recover, get back in his rhythm, because Jason Daskalos is closing in. These are 2 of the smaller teams in the paddock, and they've had their giant killing moments at times this season. Great to see them, though, finding one another here. 2 veterans of GT America now finding each other here in GT World Challenge.
This is going to be the real battle, though. This is the big one right now for the lead in Pro-Am. Rothberg, the championship leader. He and Foley having a strong weekend. Obviously, we talked about Rothberg going for 4 victories. Has it been done before? Well, we're not sure it's going to be happening because McDonald looks to be really feisty and got a fast race car underneath him.
Yeah, he does, but how many times have we seen with 20 minutes or more to go, Justin Rothberg under pressure only to hang on? This is reminiscent a little bit of the GT America race earlier today. 20 minutes into the race, it was Memo Gidley all over his rear wing, and he was able to answer any of the challenges that Memo presented.
Yeah, I think coming up to these next 2 corners, this is where he's a little bit vulnerable. Let's wait and see what McDonald can do here through turn 11. Roll a little bit more speed, nowhere to go with it. He has a little moment of his by himself there, just trying to correct things as he got to the entry of Oak Tree. That's not ideal to get a launch. He needs a perfect exit here to even think about passing this BMW down the straightaway.
A couple of wins this season for Blake McDonald on a podium streak of 5 consecutive races. He'd keep that up as they run, but would lose further ground in the championship. That's the trouble he finds himself in. Second is a pretty good day, but you're losing points to the championship leader as they run. That makes this a really crucial moment here in the title hunt between the top 2 effectively at this stage, given the misfortune for Jeff Burton and Philip Ellis earlier in this race.
Yeah, they came into this race today third, but really tightened things up a little bit. But as you said, they've been on a great podium run, 2 wins, 3 times third place finish in the last 5 events for this DXDT Corvette. But they need this win. They got to take the big points away from the championship leader. That's so important when you look at the championship stakes right now.
To illustrate the point, as they run, Rothberg and Foley would get 25 points, 18 for second place to McDonald and Bell. Should the positions swap, it's effectively a 14-point swing in the championship.
Yeah, which is huge. These are the days where they are pivotal in the championship.
Recognize we don't have the graphics for you up on the screen, so we'll do our best to keep you up to date on time remaining as well as gaps between the various contenders in their respective classes. We're at 18 minutes, 15, 14, 13
a little moment there for
seconds.
McDonald. Nearly loses the race car. That was so close to being gone.
Wow. But he gathers it back in and immediately back on the attack.
Wow, that was... You're doing about 115 miles an hour right there at turn 10. Big, big catch.
These two are a class of their own in Pro-Am. Kyle Washington still does hold down the 3rd spot. It would be a good day. They were hoping it would be a great day. And great pit work, great strategy, great execution. Got them briefly to the lead in the class, but just wasn't enough to hold off the charge of Justin Rothberg, and even Rothberg himself might not have enough to hold off the charge of Blake McDonald. Here he comes with 17 minutes, 20 seconds to go.
Yeah, and we can see that BMW is pretty stout at this part of the racetrack, but we get to the tight stuff. There goes McDonald looking down to the inside once again. He can feel it. He knows he's got a faster race car. It's all about plodding his way through.
Yeah, he does. Car looks really sorted. Rothberg's got his hands full. We'll keep an eye on the battle, but while we do, check in here with Amanda.
Well, Rothberg will definitely know the battles that I'm about to talk about. While we were down there a little bit on pit lane, I was catching the feed on our YouTube channel, and there were some battles going back and forth in the live chat between Samantha Tan and Anthony Bartone. So as our former drivers in the series, thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up with the fans. I also want to talk quickly about the Mercedes that is currently driven by Mackay Stevens. I was able to talk to him prior to the race, and he says, man, I'm just trying to be like Mick out here. I'm trying to emulate him, trying to be like him, but it is a big weekend for that team. John Farrow is celebrating his 71st birthday tomorrow and is headed to Yellowstone.
Fantastic. Well, they had the big win, didn't they, in TC America back on Friday. Had good runs here in GT World Challenge America. GT4 didn't quite go according to plan, but Mackay Stevens running a very strong second in the pro class, 11 seconds behind the leader, Alex Sedgwick.
What was that Nike slogan? I want to be like Mike. I think he's talking about Mick, his teammate. Obviously, he's right there, Michael Grenier. And he's just a great teammate to have, just rock solid, great performance, knows this Mercedes so well. I was talking to the team earlier this weekend. They said the thing that's remarkable about Mackay, he's really got no seat time since we had the break at Sebring, whereas Mikhail has been all over the world running championships. So to see Mackay get into this race car and perform at a very similar level is really a testimony to his skill set.
And Michael Grenier super busy with his role with Mercedes AMG. Took part in the 24 hours of the Nürburgring, finished 6th in the SP9 Pro class in that great event. Raced at Bathurst back in the winter as well as programs in IMSA, GT World Challenge Europe, and around the Nürburgring, plus this here in GT World Challenge America. He's a great tool for Mackay Stevens to learn from in his first season of GT3 racing.
Tell you what, there's certain corners where McDonald has a big advantage, but he's got nowhere to go with it. Turn 3 is one of those. He just really rolls big speed through there and pokes his nose into the inside to turn 4, but can't make it stick.
If you are Blake McDonald, is there a spot on this track that you've identified where maybe you try and go on the attack?
Well, I think that's certainly one of them, the entry to turn 4, the entry to Oak Tree there, but you got to be close enough. And I think what Rothberger's doing is understanding where his car has the strengths and realizing that it's going to be a really risky move for that Corvette to make an overtaking pass. And I think for McDonald, he's got to really focus in terms of being a little bit closer through some of those faster sections so he's not coming so far back.
It's a tough challenge, though, isn't it? And Rothberg's been in this position so many times over his relatively short career, but it does seem like he has a knack for playing defense. Some drivers just aren't comfortable when you have to spend so much time looking behind as much as you do looking out front, but it never seems to have troubled Justin Rothberg.
It hasn't, and I think a lot of that comes from the tutelage of Robbie Foley. He'll be working the radio communication hard right now, just saying, listen, you're fine there. This is where you're vulnerable. Just make sure you cover him in these certain corners. You're going to be okay. Don't panic. Don't try and force your car to do something that will not give you today in a corner and opening up the door for the Corvette behind.
Not much at all between these two, although I get the sense that if the Corvette could get ahead, he might have a little bit of pace in hand, but right now, just can't find a way by the big old BMW.
See right there, just Rothberg stretches that gap a little bit. Come through turn 10. This is where he really needs to stand to get a good exit here. He's not quite close enough again. You see how far back he's coming from. He'll roll speed through this corner. He's right to the tail of the BMW, but not in a position to do that crossover and get to the inside of apex.
Beautiful run down Madison Avenue for the leader in the Pro-Am class, chased by second place in class. Turner Motorsport, one of the established GT teams in North America, up against the relative upstart in DXDT.
Let's not forget, we talk about that weight that they carry aboard this number 29 car. This is exactly where you'd notice the difference in terms of tire deg this late in the going. This is what Eric Peterson, their engineer, told me the other day. You know, the weight is okay. We'll handle that, but we're going to really struggle if we get a long green flag run.
Down under 12 minutes to go now. Sedgwick's lead unchanged over Mackay Stevens. 11.3 seconds. Kitten Cook runs third overall and in the Pro class. What we're watching here is first and second in Pro-Am. Rothberg and McDonald. Behind them by about 14 seconds is the third placed car in that class. That's Kyle Washington. Seventh place to Choxy. He's in the Pro class, of course. Then you get to Newell, Schwest, and Daskalos. That's the top 10 as they run. Battle continues to rage here. Heading back up the hill once again. Rothberg's got his hands full. He's looking like he's sliding around just that little bit more.
Yeah, if there's one spot I really feel that Rothberg needs to try and push it a little bit more is turn 3. I mean, he's just arresting his speed so much there that McDonald has just got a huge run. He was ever closer there than into turn 4. And if he wants this victory, he may force things. I think Rothberg, if he's got any speed available, if he can roll just that little bit more through turn 3, that'll take away that opportunity. But he can't afford to risk it and run wide himself. The car looks pretty stable. It just seems like he's having to slow the car too much.
Varun Choxy and Kyle Washington swapping positions on this lap. Looks like Choxy has put the pass on Kyle. That's for 6th overall. Still at the back of the Pro class field, though, for Varun. That little miscue on the out lap or subsequent lap still looming large.
One thing to look for is whether Gray Newell has an opportunity to get to that final podium position in Pro-Am. He sits, 7.5 seconds back of Kyle Washington right now. And he's running lap times about a second or so quicker. So 10 minutes left to go. Could be pretty tight there for that final podium spot by the drop of the checker today.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Gray Newell driving really well here this weekend. Got the first podium of the season yesterday. They're just off of that right now in the 4th spot, as you see on the graphics. And we are under 10 minutes to go.
This is the corner I'm talking about right here. Just watch the speed that Rothberg takes here. See how that Corvette just rolls a bit more. That was better execution there by Rothberg. Didn't stop the car quite as much.
If you
it's
were
all relative, of course. He's right on edge, but if he's got anything to give there, try and find it. That'll take away that opportunity in 4.
If you were Robbie Foley on the radio, what would you be conveying?
I just say this is where you're looking like he may take a poke down the inside, so be aware of that. You got to cover him off immediately if you feel you didn't get a good run through turn 3. Get proactive in terms of defending that inside lane into turn 4. But if you got any speed, if you can just pick up a little bit, just roll the brake, get off the brakes and roll a little bit more apex speed in 3, that'll take away that opportunity anyway.
Haven't mentioned our fight in the air class in a while, but after the pit stops, Dolehite came out in front, and he's been able to build a gap, 13 seconds over Jay Schreibman. So after the Ferrari got to victory lane yesterday, the Ford might be fighting back here in race number 2. That's how they run, at least, with 8.5 minutes to go.
3-4 car lengths there at top speed down Madison Avenue. There's obviously the concertina effect that you get when you get to a slower part of the racetrack. The gap is obviously a lot smaller when you're in a low speed corner versus the straightaway. Scott Dolehite to add to those AM class victories this year. He's had a really solid run here this weekend.
Just got a text from Eric Powell, fresh out of the car here, letting us know they had some contact on the opening lap and actually picked up a little bit of steering damage that he had to live with through that opening stint, and that's something now that Scott Dolehite is having to deal with too.
Pretty strong performance if the car's not 100%. It's really great to see them kind of get this car. It's like it's a big jump, right, for that group to try and tackle GT3 racing at this level. Dipped their toe in the water last year with the Audi, of course, but nonetheless, to get one of the current thoroughbred GT3 cars and take a small team and make it tick, it's been really a great journey.
You talk about what it takes making the step to this level. We talked some about Suez Povoledo Racing yesterday, made that slight miscalculation that cost them, but that did at least give them the chance to run at the front and showcase their speed. And Aaron Povoledo told me that this level is 1,000,000 times different than anything that they have done before as a team. And remember, they've won races and championships at the GT4 level in the past. Goes to show just how challenging it is. Teams will tell you the manuals for a GT4 car are plenty complicated, but it's orders of magnitude more complex when you start to factor in all the systems that are on these high-tech modern GT3 machines.
Tell you what, this Pro Championship has really taken a bit of a shake-up here this weekend with the performance of the RS1 car. Potentially they can walk away from here only 9 points out of the championship lead, which is a massive swing. They came in here 31 points back, so huge weekend, really gets them into the picture, and that changes the dynamic for the Randall Bandel squad of Connor DeFilippi and Kenton Cook, who looked like they had things all their own way on the back of 4 victories from the first 6 races.
Here they are, currently 3rd, but frankly it's a distant 3rd. They've made next to no inroads here in this stint, despite great effort from Kenton Cook. 25 seconds behind the overall leader of the race. Oh boy, Rothberg with a little bit of a twitch that time through NASCAR Bend. This is the part of the track Calvin identified where they might be vulnerable, and immediately in closes Blake McDonald. He's within striking distance again.
He is. Yeah, and how much does he want it? How much is he willing to put it all on the line? I think he's got to go for it without getting too dirty about it. If they should get together, does it open up the door for this man, Kyle Washington? But Gray Newell has been on a beautiful charge and cars all over the curb there. That's too much curbage there. It's going to cost him on exit speed.
And 1.3 seconds the difference between their lap times the last time around, and it's not too much between the two of them. We're talking just a couple seconds. So before too much longer, this Aston should be there, but the question becomes, does he have enough time to get around? Even